Chapter 2606. This was the first time Yan Wei felt flustered about Shi Xuexin. He sent her to the hospital without stopping. After this time, Yan Wei was much gentler to Shi Xuexin, whether it was day or night. There was even a period of time when Yan Wei seemed to have forgotten the hatred between the two families. He treated Shi Xuexin better and better and even fired the servants who bullied her. Then, Shi Xuexin felt a trace of sweetness in her heart. The reason why she felt something for someone who hurt her was because she was actually not liked by Shi Xuexin's father. Everyone knew that Shi Xuexin's father's first wife had been in a coma for 15 years. Many people advised him to give up. His wife could not wake up. But he still did not give up. Even another infatuated woman who had been silently accompanying him did not have the chance to get a status. They thought that Shi Xuexin was the only eldest daughter of the Shi family. In fact, her cheap father had been with the woman who accompanied him for a long time and had a daughter. It was just that she was raised in another place and no one found out. Moreover, the story was quite complicated. It involved the reason why the male and female lead would bury the hatchet in the future. Yan Wei was tempted by Shi Xuexin and was gentle to her. The original owner, who was watching silently, clearly felt Yan Wei's thoughts. She didn't have the consciousness to do anything to Shi Xuexin. At most, she would give her a warning or two. In addition, she was a little reserved and couldn't put down her airs to ask for anything. However, she still took the initiative to ask for Yan Wei. But Yan Wei, this man, actually didn't like her. There were only two reasons for raising her in the manner. First, her father did die for him, and she was also a person who was sincere to him. After all, she stood in front of him without hesitation. Second, he needed a weakness. The original owner happened to be his weakness. Even if someone threatened him, he wouldn't be threatened in the end. Yes, this man was cold-blooded and heartless. Even when treating the daughter of his savior, he was more of a use. If he hadn't been so deeply involved with Shi Xuexin, he might not have been able to go to the end with Shi Xuexin. It could also be said that such a cold man, once moved, would be more affectionate than anyone else. Moreover, when the truth came out, how deeply he had hurt Shi Xuexin, all the guilt would turn into love for her, and their feelings would naturally deepen. Later on, Yan Wei suddenly remembered that Shi Xuexin was the daughter of his enemy. In his confusion, he began to humiliate and torture her. Shi Xue was heartbroken and sad. Every day, she would secretly wipe her face. However, at this moment, something else happened. Shi Xuexin and the original owner were kidnapped by Yan Wei's enemies at the same time. The other party seemed to have noticed that the two were kidnapped in different directions. Given the situation at that time, he could only appear on one side to save them. The other side sent other people over. In the end, he chose to save the original host. After all, at this time, he was denying himself. He was angry at himself for having feelings for the daughter of his enemy. The host was saved safely, but Shi Xuexin's situation was not good. In the end, Shi Xuexin was sent to the hospital with blood all over her body. Yan Wei regretted it again. Looking at the dying Shi Xuexin, his heart was filled with pain. This was the second time that he was soft-hearted towards Shi Xue and worried about her safety. Chapter 2607. Yan Wei regretted not saving her at that time. He realized that even if she was the daughter of his enemy, he seemed to be moved by her. At this time, Yan Wei was still very conflicted. Later on, his love rival appeared and various things happened between him and Shi Xuexin. Shi Xuexin became more and more important in his heart. But he still didn't clear up the misunderstanding and let the outside world think that the original owner was the woman he cared about the most. Even by chance, he found out the truth about Shi Xuexin in the Shi family. This made him feel less guilty towards his father. He secretly decided that after everything was over, he would give Shuashin an explanation. Now for her safety, he didn't want the public to think that she was the most important in his heart. Thus, Shuashin and the original owner were kidnapped for the second time. This time, Yan Wei didn't hesitate and chose to save Shuashin first. Because at this time, the original owner was seen as a weakness on the surface and was the one who took the bullet for Shuashin. Because of saving Shuashin, he missed the best time to save the original owner. The people who kidnapped her seemed to be up to no good. They bullied her, and after bullying her, they sold her and took many photos to send to Yan Wei in an attempt to humiliate him. In the end, the original owner was saved by Yan Wei. She also seemed to have found out that she was the one who took the bullet for Shuashin. The original owner, who had experienced all these tragic events, could no longer maintain the cold beauty of the past. Her heart began to gradually collapse, and the once clear and transparent eyes began to have many more emotions. She started to deliberately make things difficult for Shuashin and blamed Yan Wei in her heart. But now Shuashin was Yan Wei's treasure, and naturally, she couldn't get anything good. The original owner was a weak woman with no power and no power. How could she deal with Yan Wei? Even after she slandered him, she used all means to stir up trouble. In the end, Yan Wei couldn't bear it and drove her out of the manor. Because she was too beautiful, a weak woman was driven out. What else could she do? In desperation, she jumped into the sea when no one was looking. Yi Yame was a vain person. She even wanted to reap without sowing. She was a person who had many schemes in her heart. As for Shuashin and Yan Wei, later on, they still stumbled. Without the original owner, there were all kinds of obstacles. Yan Wei had abused and loved Shuashin. He loved and abused her. In the end, he didn't know how it came to fruition. After reading the plot, Tang Guo opened her eyes. Coincidentally, the car had already arrived at the manor. Come, look in the mirror and touch up your makeup. When you appear in front of Yan Wei, you must be beautiful and clean. He hates dirty things. Tang Guo glanced at Yi Yame. She felt that if her cheap mother were 20 or 30 years younger, she might not have asked her to come. Instead, she would have come by herself. Tang Guo did not refute. She obediently looked at herself in the mirror and touched up her makeup. She hadn't figured out what to do yet, so she decided to check on those two first. In short, Yan Wei was definitely out to get him. As for Shuashin, she was no different from her. She was just a caged bird being manipulated. She had never taken the initiative to harm the original owner of the body. Through her memories, she had suffered a lot. However, Shuashin, who had suffered so much, was still able to be together with Yan Wei. In the end, they even had a child and got married. Forgive her for not being able to understand. Could it be that this was the greatness of love? No matter how many times one was stabbed, it could not stop the footsteps of true love. Chapter 2608. Walking into the manor, she could see the servants who were busy in the manor. Seeing that she was back, everyone smiled at her eagerly and addressed her respectfully, Miss Tang. Hello, Miss Tang. Welcome back, Miss Tang. Tang Guo maintained a cold expression on her face as she gently bowed her head to these people. Then, with light steps, she went straight inside. When she entered the living room, she did not see Yan Wei. Instead, she saw a girl in a servant's uniform who was mopping the floor. She was very young and unfamiliar in her memory. She looked very beautiful. She should be Shuashin. Shuashin seemed to have noticed her too. She looked up instinctively and saw a beautiful woman in a white dress standing at the door. She took a step back instinctively. This is Miss Tang. You can call her Miss Tang. A servant said to Shuashin in a condescending manner while flattering Tang Guo. Why aren't you warming a glass of warm milk for Miss Tang? It's so cold. Do you want Miss Tang to freeze to death? No need. There's a heater in the room. Just as Shi Shuoxin was about to move, Tang Guo stopped her and asked, "Where is Mr. Yen?" "Miss Tang, Mr. Yen is in the study." "Then go warm a glass of warm milk. I'll bring it to him later." The servant did not expect Tang Guo to ask her to do it directly. But she still smiled and planned to ask Shi Shuoxin to do it after Tang Guo went upstairs. Unexpectedly, Tang Guo said, "Go warm it. Don't give it to others. She's new here, right?" Tang Guo glanced at Shi Shuoxin. "I'm afraid that she can't grasp the temperature that Mr. Yen likes." Now, the servant did not dare to ask Shi Shuoxin to do it. Before going upstairs, Tang Guo glanced at Shi Shuoxin. Shi Shuoxin was also sizing her up. In fact, after being in the manor for so many days, she had heard about Miss Tang from many people. It was said that she was a very young artist. This time, she seemed to have gone abroad to hold an art exhibition. Didn't she say that she would be back next month? She was like the hostess here. Shi Shuoxin suddenly understood something. However, if she had a choice, she wouldn't want to be here. However, she had no choice but to come. This Yan Wei was a vicious wolf. She had initially thought that he was a gentle and refined person. Since Miss Tang was a young and beautiful artist, why would she follow a wolf like Yan Wei? Isn't she afraid to be around a wolf like that? Yan Wei was such a terrifying person. Could it be that the other party did not want to escape? Based on her intuition, she realized that this Miss Tang seemed to be different from what she had imagined. She didn't seem to have any hostility towards her. She didn't know if it was just her imagination, but she felt like the other party was warning the servant. Soon, Shi Shuoxin threw these thoughts to the back of her mind. Thinking about how she was humiliated by Yan Wei every day, she bit her lips. She didn't know when these days would end. Tang Guo didn't know what Shi Shuoxin was thinking. When the warm milk was delivered, she sent it to Yan Wei. He knocked on the door, and a low voice sounded from inside. "Who?" "Mr. Yen, it's me. Xiao Guo." Yan Wei was surprised at first. Then he seemed to understand something and said, "Come in." Tang Guo held the warm milk in front of him and sized up Yan Wei at the same time. "Sir, don't always be busy with work. When it's time to rest, you still have to rest. Take care of yourself." "Okay." Yan Wei replied simply and drank the milk she brought over. "Didn't you say that you'll be back next month? The exhibition is already over. There's no need to stay here. The outside can't be compared to home." Yan Wei nodded and didn't ask any more questions. As if thinking of something, he stood up and suddenly grabbed Tang Guo's hand. Under Tang Guo's surprised gaze, he led her out of the study and into the living room. "You, come here." Yan Wei pointed at Shi Shuoxin, who was cleaning in the living room. His voice made Shi Shuoxin tremble. If it weren't for her quick reflexes, she might have knocked over the things in her hands. Chapter 2609. She's a newcomer to the manor. "Xiao Guo, you can ask her to do anything for you in the future." Yan Wei stood on the stairs with Tang Guo and looked down at Shi Shuoxin, who was covered in dust. Tang Guo, who was standing beside Yan Wei, was wearing a snow-white dress. The contrast was particularly striking. Even Shi Shuoxin felt a little awkward as an ugly duck standing in front of a white swan. She didn't know why Yan Wei would specifically ask Tang Guo to do this, but she didn't think much of it. She had agreed to all of this willingly. As long as her cheap father kept his word, she would stay here obediently. No matter what Yan Wei did to her, she wouldn't resist. Anyway, she would live like that in the Shi family. Even if she wasn't given to Yan Wei, her mother and daughter wouldn't let her have an easy time. And her cheap father wouldn't care about her life at all. Did you hear that? Yan Wei seemed to have noticed that Shi Shuoxin was distracted. He frowned slightly and looked a little impatient. It wasn't hard to see the disdain and disgust in his eyes. I heard it. Shi Shuoxin sighed in her heart and nodded quickly without any complaints. It was her submissive attitude that made Yan Wei a little unhappy. And on the Shi family side, that man seemed to be very attentive to him, as if he was trying to curry favor with him. Just wait a little longer. When he was done teasing them, he would let the Shi family understand what it meant to be hopeless. Just like how that man teased his parents back then. Xiao Gua is the mistress of this manor. He seemed to want to deal a heavy blow to Shi Shuoxin. You have to listen to whatever she asks you to do. It was rare for Yan Wei to show some warmth on his face. The way he looked at Tang Guo was much gentler than the way he looked at Shi Shuoxin. Even though he knew that Yan Wei had his own motives for saying all this, he still had his own reasons for doing so. But Tang Guo still showed some surprise and joy at the right time. Her expression was just right and suited her current persona. System, just wait and see. It's going to collapse sooner or later. I've never seen the host maintain his persona from the beginning to the end. Even when he was still a muddle-headed system back then, the host's persona hadn't been completely maintained during their first mission. It was just that it collapsed slightly at that time. But now, it collapsed whenever he wanted to. Once it collapsed, it would collapse. Not long after Tang Guo was sent back to her room, Shi Shuoxin was still working in the living room, feeling a little uneasy. So, it seemed that Miss Tang was really Yan Wei's. She bit her lip. She didn't quite understand. Since Yan Wei cared so much about Miss Tang, why did he still force her? Wasn't this betraying his lover? Also, what Yan Wei said today was because of her appearance. Would Miss Tang find trouble with her? She was a little nervous and didn't want to be enemies with that beautiful woman at all. He felt that the other party was a little pitiful. Perhaps, she should understand that a man like Yan Wei, how could he only have one woman by his side? As long as he wanted, the woman who was willing to stay by his side. In her opinion, Miss Tang didn't look like someone who stayed for vanity's sake. Wasn't she a very young artist? She should be able to support herself and meet her needs, right? Under Shi Shuoxin's uneasiness, Tang Guo didn't come downstairs even once. Chapter 26:10. Only when it was time for dinner did she come down. Yi Yamei appeared at the same time as her. They sat down together, but Yan Wei had not come down yet. Yi Yamei looked at Shi Shuoxin from head to toe and said, "Are you new here?" Shi Shuoxin nodded. She felt that Yi Yamei did not look friendly, so she answered carefully. "Oh." Yi Yamei looked at Shi Shuoxin and heaved a sigh of relief. Indeed, Yan Wei did not care about this woman. He probably hated her. "I'm a little thirsty. Go get me a glass of water." Yi Yamei decided to show Shi Shuoxin who she was. She wanted to let her know who was the mistress of this manor. She did not care how many women Yan Wei would have in the future. As long as they did not surpass her daughter and wanted to be the mistress of this manor, she would be obedient. Shi Shuoxin quickly went to get the water. Tang Guo glanced at Yi Yamei. This mother of hers was really a villain. She was showing off her villainous side to the fullest. Not long after, Shi Shuoxin came back with the water. Yi Yamei poured the water for her. Yi Yamei took a sip and frowned. "Why is it so hot?" "You." Before she could finish her sentence, Tang Guo stopped her. "Mother, let it cool down if it's hot. It won't be hot after a while." Yi Yamei did not expect Tang Guo to stop her. Suddenly, she saw a surprised and grateful look in Shi Shuoxin's eyes. She was no longer angry. Xiao Gua is so thoughtful. Then, let it cool down. Just cool it down. Shi Xuexin let out a long breath. She was right. Miss Tang was a beautiful and kind person in this manner. She was used to seeing the mother and daughter's faces. How could she not know that Yi Yame was making things difficult for her? But she was used to it and was prepared for it. She did not expect that Miss Tang, whom she met for the first time, would help her out twice. Ever since she was young, besides her mother in her memory, no one else had thought of her in this way. System, host, the way Shi Xuexin looks at you is a bit strange, isn't it? Tang Gua subconsciously glanced at Shi Xuexin. She saw Shi Xuexin give her a sweet smile with some gratitude. Then, she quickly lowered her head and pretended that nothing had happened. System, isn't it strange? Host, why is Shi Xuexin smiling foolishly at you? Tang Gua said, maybe she's trying to find joy in her misery. She suddenly realized that I'm pretty, so she smiled at me. System, to be honest, he doesn't really believe it. The host is spouting nonsense again with a straight face. The first day passed peacefully just like that. To prevent Yi Yame from causing trouble for her, Tang Gua even talked to her. Mom, don't make things difficult for Shi Xuexin. Don't order her around. Just treat her as if she's invisible. Yi Yame was a little surprised. Didn't you feel uncomfortable because of this woman? Isn't Mom helping you vent your anger? Although we can't stop Yan Wei from having so many women around him, I have plenty of ways to deal with these little vixens. Mom, didn't you say that I only need to ensure my status? If I deal with them, won't I be lowering my status? Perhaps Mr. Su Yan won't care, but he won't think highly of me either. Yi Yame thought about it. That seemed to be the case. Yan Wei didn't care about Shi Xuexin at all. It would be unnecessary for her to do anything. Chapter 26:11. She had heard from the servants in the manor that the girl had not had a good day ever since she entered the manor. All right, I won't torment her in the future. She doesn't have a good day anyway. Not only can't you torment her, but you can't instigate others either. Tang Guo looked at Yi Yame seriously. In Mr. Yan's eyes, I'm a very simple person. If I do something to bully someone, he will think that I ordered you to do it. He won't let me stay by his side for long, right? Yi Yame was frightened by her words. If they were chased out of the manor, how were they going to live? Yi Yame's arrogance and smugness disappeared and she became serious. Xiao Gua, you're right. It's easy for him to find out anything in this manner. We can't escape from him no matter what we do. Seeing that Yi Yame really understood, Tang Guo was slightly relieved. In the storyline, after the original Yi Yame jumped into the sea and died, the cowardly and vain Yi Yame dared to poison Yan Wei in order to take revenge. She couldn't just stand by and do nothing. She wasn't a good person, but there was some sincerity in her. Especially for such a Philistine person, it was rare. Mom, if you have nothing to do, go to the beauty salon and go shopping with those aunties. Also, don't talk about Mr. Yan bringing women back. Just live your life well. I'll take care of the manor, so you don't have to worry. Alright, Xiao Gua has really grown up and matured. She knows what's best for her. System, that's because the host is afraid that you'll cause trouble and ruin her plans. It's not because of that idiot Yan Wei. Late at night, Tang Gua heard a struggling sound and opened her eyes. She could only blame her sharp eyes and ears. Even if the original Yi Yame didn't have such abilities, when her soul landed in this body, not only did her eyes and ears become smarter, her movements also became more agile. Not only did the sound not become softer, it became louder and louder. Judging from the direction, it should be coming from Yan Wei's room. There weren't any screams, just the sound of a woman enduring humiliation. At first, there was some struggle, but in the end, there was silence. After a long time, Tang Guo heard the door open. Judging from the light footsteps, it should be Shi Xuexin. Shi Xuexin tugged at her tattered clothes and carefully went downstairs. Suddenly, she felt something. She looked up and saw a woman standing not far away. If she hadn't covered her mouth in time, she would have screamed. Her eyes flashed with panic. From their previous contact, this Miss Tang should like Yan Wei very much, right? Now that he saw her like this, what would he think? He thought that she was a vixen and hated her. He might even make things difficult for her tomorrow. Thinking about it, Shi Xuexin actually felt a little sad. Miss Tang, who had helped her out twice today, would probably join the army of people who hated her tomorrow. She thought that Tang Guo would come over to warn her, but in the end, Tang Guo turned around and went back to her room. Her voice drifted into her ears. "It's cold. Why don't you go back to your room?" For some reason, Shi Xuexin didn't feel sad before, but now, her heart was extremely sour. She was too narrow-minded. Miss Tang did not intend to make things difficult for her. She even cared if she was cold and asked her to go back to her room. Shi Xuexin didn't know if it was because of his words, but she quickly ran back to her room. Chapter 26:12. The next day, Shi Xuexin was still a little uneasy. Later, she realized that Tang Guo did not cause her any trouble at all. She even called her over when the other servants wanted to make things difficult for her and asked her to help her dry the paintings. Now, she took out the paintings that Tang Guo painted to dry. Looking at the paintings, she could not help but be entranced. Miss Tang was not only good-looking, but her paintings were also beautiful. No wonder she could hold an exhibition abroad. But why did she fall in love with someone like Yan Wei? It was such a pity. Shi Xuexin sat on a small stool and held her cheeks. Her eyes swept over every painting. There were all kinds of paintings. This day was probably the most relaxing day she had ever had. She had been drying the paintings the whole day and no one dared to make things difficult for her. Because Miss Tang had said in a cold tone in front of everyone, "My paintings are very important. You have to guard them and dry them. You can't afford to be responsible if something goes wrong." Because Tang Guo valued these words too much, those who wanted to make things difficult for Shi Xuexin did not dare to come up. If they damaged Miss Tang's paintings, they would definitely be in trouble. They wanted to frame Shi Xuexin, but there were people everywhere in the manor. Also, Miss Tang really valued those paintings too much. She even exposed Shi Xuexin to the camera's range. At that time, she said, "There are cameras here. Don't think about slacking off." Everyone thought that Shi Xuexin had provoked Tang Guo and deliberately made things difficult for her. But Shi Xuexin did not think so. She always felt that Miss Tang did this to help her. No one in the manor was nice to her. They all looked at her as a joke. Although she could not slack off in front of the camera, she would not be framed, right? Did Miss Tang know that those people wanted to make things difficult for her? Before this, she had indeed been framed. Today, all he needed to do was to find a shady spot and sit there, guarding the paintings. She did not need to mop the floor, clean the bathroom, scrub the toilet, or do all kinds of chores in the manor. It was really relaxing. Shi Xuexin looked at her hands. It was very cold and she often touched water, and it was cold water. It caused her hands to have some frostbite. Fortunately, the weather was good and there was sun. She felt more comfortable during the day, but she was also busy and tired during the day. As the sun slowly set in the afternoon, Shi Xuexin began to put away these paintings. Suddenly, a voice came from behind her. "Your hands are so rough. You'll ruin my painting. System, yes, he suspected that the host had once been a straight man. A man who spoke like that didn't have a girlfriend. Even if he did have a girlfriend, she would run over halfway. Shurshuashin did not take these words to heart at all. She hesitated for a moment and said, "Then I'll wear gloves." "I'm sorry, Miss Tang. It was my negligence." Tang Guo glanced at her and said, "Gloves can only solve the problem temporarily. They can't cure the root of the problem. Since you've taken over my job, you have to take good care of your hands. Otherwise, you'll ruin my painting." Shurshuashin couldn't help but curse in her heart. She finally found a new piece of information. In Miss Tang's eyes, other than Yen Wei, paintings were also very important. "Come to my room later. I have a lot of unused hand masks and hand creams. You can use them. I've already thrown those things away. Letting you use them is also a waste." Shurshuashin. Why did she feel a little warm in her heart after hearing such vicious words? She really had seen a ghost. Chapter 26:13. The people in the manor only knew that Tang Guo was coldly scolding Shurshuashin. After Shurshuashin carefully put away the paintings, she quickly ran to Tang Guo's room. The people outside didn't know what happened inside, but they vaguely heard the words paintings and damaged. They were shocked. Did that clumsy woman, Shurshuashin, damage Miss Tang's paintings? Now that Miss Tang had called Shurshuashin to her room, they didn't know how she was going to torture Shurshuashin. They knew that Shurshuashin wouldn't have a good life now that Miss Tang was back. What they didn't know was that Shurshuashin was looking at the 2 bags of various skincare products in front of her in a daze. There were so many of them, and they were all famous brands. They were super effective and hadn't even been opened. But Miss Tang said that they were unused and useless. "Miss Tang, do you think there's a mistake here?" "There's no mistake. These things aren't suitable for me." Shurshuashin swallowed. "Many of them haven't been opened. Is there a problem? If you don't feel comfortable, you can open all of them here and take them away." After pausing, Tang Guo glanced at Shurshuashin. "I have a lot of things for you to do in the future. Your hands must recover as soon as possible. Otherwise, you'll damage my paintings. My paintings are very expensive. You can't touch them with your rough hands. Do you understand?" "Yes." Therefore, in order to make her work hard for the other party, Miss Tang gave her these skincare products to maintain her hands. An ordinary person like her would never be able to understand the thought process of an artist. "Do you know how to use them?" "Yes." "Then let me see." Shurshuashin chose a suitable one to wipe her hands. She opened the packaging and wiped her swollen hands. Although it wouldn't be effective immediately, she felt comforted and felt that she would recover soon. After Shurshuashin left happily, the system said, "Host, I feel that you're going to cause trouble. Why are you so good to Shurshuashin? If I didn't know that only the cutie could move you, I would have thought that you had changed your taste. What else can I do? I see that the female lead is a little silly, so I want to coax her over. System, I don't think she's that stupid. She's a bit different from the plot. Speaking of which, with her personality, how could she have a happy ending with Yen Wei? Because you can only see the surface from the plot. How can you not know that under the surface of the happy ending, there is a heart that has long been broken with thousands of holes? Look at her. Why is she enduring all of this in silence? What else could it be? It was because her mother was in her father's hands. If she didn't obediently come over and become Yen Wei's little slave, her father would give up on her mother. After that, her cheap father was pranked by Yen Wei, and her mother still didn't wake up. Do you think she can guarantee her mother's hospital fees on her own? She probably doesn't have a choice. What if it wasn't? What does that have to do with anything? It's best if you can coax him to come over, but if you can't, forget it. System, host, you're getting more and more fearless. What's there to be afraid of? I just want to do what I want to do. No matter if I win or lose, even if one day I'm defeated and disappear, it's my choice. I have no regrets. Chapter 26:14. The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. Tongzi, do you think we should continue living in fear after traveling through so many worlds? That's so boring. If we don't do something, we'll be letting down these experiences. The system had been persuaded long ago. The host was right. It was impossible not to do anything. What about after coaxing Shuxuoxin over? After that, we'll mess with Yan Wei. Doesn't he like to play with women? I wonder if he'll be played with by a woman one day. The system believed that this day would come. He was a little optimistic about Shuxuoxin. This woman looked at the host with stars in her eyes, like a lackey. He even suspected that Shuxuoxin was the cow that the host liked in this world. After getting along with Tang Guo for a while, Shuxuoxin realized that Tang Guo was really helping her. Although she seemed to be indifferent to her and would sometimes pick on some small problems. But every time she seemed to be picking on small problems, she was actually helping her out. The most embarrassing thing was that she would occasionally come out of Yan Wei's room in a sorry state and bump into Tang Guo. In the past, she didn't care about these things. But when she thought about how she appeared in front of that clean person like that, she felt a little ashamed and couldn't face it. She didn't expect that the other party could help her more. She was Yan Wei's plaything, a slave that he used to vent his anger on. As for Miss Tang, she lived in this manner. What else could she be? She was still Yan Wei's woman. She couldn't beg in front of him. If she implicated him, it would be her fault. So, Miss Tang was really a kind person. Why would such a good person be Yan Wei's woman and like Yan Wei wholeheartedly? Why couldn't she have her own life and be the master of her own destiny? She didn't doubt that Tang Guo liked Yan Wei at all. Because every time she saw Yan Wei, her eyes were different. Does Miss Tang like Mr. Yan a lot? Tang Guo glanced at Shuxuoxin. Why are you asking this? I just think that such a perfect person like Miss Tang actually likes Mr. Yan. Miss Tang, there are actually many good people in this world. It's not necessarily. If you like her, then you like her. Why do you need so many reasons? Miss Tang, you should know what kind of person Mr. Yan is. Shuxuoxin was a little indignant. Why should such a good person be taken advantage of by that dog, Yan Wei? Yes, from the beginning, Yan Wei was a vicious wolf. Now, in Shuxuoxin's heart, he had become a vicious dog. So what if I know? Tang Guo looked at her coldly. You shouldn't be asking about these things. The entire manor belongs to him. If you want to live well, then be obedient. It doesn't matter to me. I've already accepted my fate. But Miss Tang, it's different. You're so beautiful, and you're also a painter. You're so capable, and you still have so many years ahead of you. How many years have I been 22? Tang Guo interrupted Shuxuoxin. She raised her eyebrows and glanced at her. You're 19, sister. After Tang Guo passed by Shuxuoxin, Shuxuoxin's face turned red. She was right. She was only 19, and Miss Tang was 22 years old this year. She shouldn't have said such things at such a young age. I just think. Shuxuoxin quickly ran up and lowered her voice. Miss Tang deserves a better life. Staying by Mr. Yan's side is the best life for me. At this moment, the door was suddenly pushed open. Yan Wei walked in with a gloomy face. Shi Xuexin was so frightened that she took 2 steps back. Her face turned pale. Oh no, what she said just now must have been heard by this vicious dog. Chapter 26:15. When she thought about how this man, who was like a vicious dog, treated her that night, her body trembled. Now, she was starting to resist. She didn't want to be manipulated like before. But she had always been a pawn. How could she escape? What are you saying to Xiaoguo? You're trying to drive a wedge between us, huh? Yan Wei sneered. He walked towards Shi Xuexin and looked down at her. At the same time, he shouted, Wu Dong, come in. Wu Dong was the butler of this manor. He was Yan Wei's most trusted person. Sir, what are your orders? Send Xiaoguo back to her room. In the future, don't let this woman talk nonsense in front of Xiaoguo. Although he didn't have any feelings for Tanguo, he didn't allow anyone to talk bad about him in front of her. She even tried to drive a wedge between them. She even tried to drive Xiaoguo away from him. Has this woman been living too comfortably recently? It seemed that he was being too kind. Mr. Yan, Tanguo called out to Yan Wei. Don't be angry. I won't listen to her. I won't take her words seriously. She glanced at the pale Shi Xuexin. She was still a little silly. There were many eyes and ears in Yan Wei's manner. They would know what she was doing. System, don't worry, you'll learn from your mistakes after suffering some losses. I'm guessing that's what the Great Host thinks too. After all, the Great Host isn't the Bodhisattva Guanyin, so it's impossible for the Great Host to protect her. If Shi Xuexin wants to change everything, she can only save herself. Tanguo didn't refute Yan Wei. She was very obedient and let Wu Dong send her back to her room. Not long after she returned to her room, Wu Dong considerately closed the door. Then, she saw Yan Wei roughly drag Shi Xuexin into the room. What followed was the sound of the door slamming. Following the sound of the door closing was Shi Xuexin's frightened scream. After that scream, Shi Xuexin's voice gradually became softer. It was as if she had accepted her fate and didn't resist anymore. Wu Dong looked at Yan Wei's tightly shut door and suddenly felt something. He subconsciously turned around and saw Tanguo standing at the door of her room. He slowly walked up to Tanguo and asked in a low voice, Miss Tang, is there anything I can help you with? Regardless of what Yan Wei was doing now, no one could stop Mr. Yan from doing what he wanted to do, not even Miss Tang, who had a special status in the manor. To this day, no one could go against Mr. Yan's wishes. After this period of observation, he believed that Miss Tang was a smart person. Only smart people could stay by Mr. Yan's side for a long time. As long as she was obedient, Mr. Yan would not mind taking care of her for the rest of her life. Tanguo could sense Wu Dong's thoughts from his eyes. She sneered in her heart but did not show it on her face. She only glanced at Yan Wei's room and quickly retracted her gaze. Nothing. With that, she turned around and returned to her room. She just came out to take a look. She had no other intentions. He didn't plan to do anything and just let things develop. What Shi Xuexin was thinking and what kind of path she would take in the future, he would find out later. The system could sense his host's perverted thoughts and was still trembling in fear. What about that guy? He didn't know where he was now and when he would be able to come to his host's side. Chapter 26:16. Tanguo went to the drawing room next to her room. It wasn't until she finished painting a painting that she heard Yan Wei's footsteps downstairs. She walked to the window and looked down. Yan Wei seemed to have noticed her as he suddenly turned around and saw her standing by the window. Was this a pair of eyes like that? In addition to being very beautiful, Yan Wei could also feel that those eyes were filled with him. Thinking about what happened just now, he felt a little uncomfortable. In just a second, this discomfort disappeared. He strode out of the manor without looking back. He didn't even give her a look. Tang Guo only retracted her gaze when Yan Wei's figure disappeared. She laughed softly. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. She opened the door and saw Shi Xuexin standing at the doorway. She looked at her with an aggrieved expression. Look, you still like a man like him. He doesn't even know that you like him. Why are you so stubborn? Shi Xuexin rolled up her sleeves and saw that her arms were full of marks. She even lifted her neck and saw that there were marks on it. Her expression was slightly mocking. This man is like a mad dog, a vicious dog. He has no taste at all. Why do you like him? You like him so much. I don't think he cares about you. If a man really cares about you, he wouldn't treat me like this in front of you. At the beginning, she was bullied by Yan Wei. Even though Shi Xuexin knew that this was her fate, she still felt wronged and sad. Now, it was different. She was used to it. Anyway, she couldn't resist. Being bitten by a mad dog was the same as being bitten. There was no difference. She blindly resisted and suffered a lot. Now, she didn't have the ability to resist. She wanted her to ask Tang Guo for help. This woman was brainwashed by that evil dog. Even if she begged for mercy and the other party really helped her, she was afraid that she would be implicated. Moreover, she really didn't think that Yan Wei wouldn't do anything to Tang Guo. If Yan Wei really cared about Tang Guo, he definitely wouldn't do such a bad thing to her, especially in front of Tang Guo. Such a despicable, immoral, and disgusting man, who was like a vicious dog, was really not worthy of Tang Guo. The entire manor belongs to Mr. Yan. I have no right to control how Mr. Yan treats you. You like him so much. Can you really bear to see him do such things with other women? What kind of soup did this man feed her? Shi Xuexin was about to die of anger. This Tang Guo was good at everything, but why did her IQ drop to 0 when Yan Wei was mentioned? Don't you feel tired, sad about liking such a person? So what? Get rid of him. Shi Xuexin's eyes lit up, and she said excitedly, You're different from me. As long as you get rid of her, you'll be free. Tang Guo was speechless. System, ha 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 ha, this Shi Xuexin betrayed us too quickly. Previously, he was worried that he wouldn't be able to coax her, but now he realized that this woman was easy to coax. At a time like this, instead of worrying for himself, he was helping the host come up with a plan to obtain a new life. I've never thought of leaving Mr. Yan, ever since I moved into this manor. Even though Tang Guo said this coldly, Shi Xuexin could still see how infatuated this woman was with Yan Wei. She was very unhappy. Chapter 26:17. Nowadays, there was really someone who liked everything. Yan Wei, that evil dog, was he worthy of such a good person's infatuation? Shi Xuexin still wanted to say something, but she suddenly felt Tang Guo's gaze fall behind her. Her body suddenly stiffened. Could it be that Yan Wei had returned? Mr. Yan has instructed that the pruning in the garden today will be handed over to you. Wu Dong's voice sounded like a curse. Shi Xuexin heaved a sigh of relief. She then heard Wu Dong say, If you have nothing to do, don't come over and disturb Miss Tang. If Mr. Yan finds out, you should know the consequences. Regarding this threat, Shi Xuexin really did not take it to heart. What consequences could there be for provoking an evil dog? Wasn't it just a bite? Did he really think that this could threaten her? However, she still obeyed and went to the garden to do pruning. After a period of observation, Tang Guo found that it was very difficult for Yan Wei to be liked by Shi Xuexin. She was very satisfied with this result. So, it was time for her to go out for a walk. After all, she was a young artist. She had to play to her strengths and display her talents to the outside world. After observing the original owner's paintings for a while, she could already completely imitate the original owner's style. Then, she would slowly change it, subtly changing it into her own style. This way, it would not attract the attention of the curious people. If she continued to stay in the manner, how could Yan Wei and Shi Shuoxin create the sparks of love? System, I'm afraid it's not the sparks of love, but the magma of anger. It would burn someone to death if it was poured on them. You're preparing to hold an exhibition. Yan Wei heard Tang Guo say that she was going out for a while and going to many places to exhibit her paintings. He was not surprised at all. If there's anything you need, let Wu Dong arrange it for you. Yan Wei slightly sized up the cold and cheerless woman in front of him. She had never lost her sense of propriety in front of him. She was a smart person, so he did not mind that she had a special position in this manner. Shi Shuoxin is just an insignificant person. You don't have to care. Perhaps it was Tang Guo's attitude towards Shi Shuoxin that made Yan Wei more satisfied. He did not deliberately target her, nor was he bewitched by Shi Shuoxin. He was still the same as before, neither arrogant nor rash. He admired such people. I understand. As long as Mr. Yen doesn't tell me personally that there's a very important person living in your heart, I won't mind their existence. You. Yan Wei didn't know what to say for a moment. She was such a pure person, but he suddenly felt that she was a little silly. What if there's someone living in my heart? Yan Wei looked at her with a faint smile. What should you do? What does Mr. Yen want me to do? If I ask you to leave the manor, will you? Even if I'm unwilling, can I change all of this? Mr. Yen was never someone I could control. Yan Wei didn't expect this answer. He was very familiar with the woman in front of him. But he was also very clear that he had no interest in her, even though in everyone's eyes, she was very perfect, impeccable perfection. If you want to leave here one day, I won't stop you. Yan Wei suddenly said, Shi Shuoxin is right about one thing. I'm not worthy of your love. You can go and find a new life. If you like someone, how can you stop liking them just like that? Chapter 26:18. It's up to you. Anyway, I won't stop you from leaving in the future. In fact, he knew very well that this woman couldn't leave him. Everyone else would leave, but she wouldn't. He knew her too well. Tang Guo also felt that Yan Wei was just talking nonsense. If she really wanted to leave him now, even if Yan Wei wouldn't do anything to her, she wouldn't have a good ending. Why did the mother and daughter pair insist on staying in this manner? There was also a fatal reason, which was that they were all on Yan Wei's side. Her biological father used to work for Yan Wei. He probably did both good and bad things, so he wasn't a good person. Up until now, Yan Wei had accumulated countless new and old grudges. She was a woman with Yan Wei's label. Once she left the manor, without Yan Wei's protection, how could she have a good ending because of what her father had done? She had taken the initiative to leave. If something really happened to her, Yan Wei would not be sad or guilty. He would only sit on the leather chair and sigh. This was her choice. She insisted on leaving, and he did not chase her out. In the plot, the original owner was chased out. Even if she encountered all kinds of things, Yan Wei's thoughts would probably be, who asked her to court death and hurt the person he cared about the most? This was self-inflicted evil. Shi Shuoxin knew that Tang Guo was going to hold an art exhibition. While Yan Wei and the butler were busy, she rushed into Tang Guo's room and saw Tang Guo packing her luggage. Shi Shuoxin was already used to Tang Guo doing this kind of thing personally, so she went up to help. Miss Tang, I heard that you're going to hold an art exhibition. Shuashin's eyes lit up. Are you talking about the paintings from before? Yes. Sigh, it's a pity that I can't see it, but your paintings are really beautiful. Actually, I also like painting, but I've been very busy, so I don't have this kind of talent now. Tang Guo looked back and said, it's never too late to learn what you really want to learn. Even if you're busy, you can still squeeze out time. Have you heard of those people who started to learn painting at the age of 60 or 80 and became masters in the end? Shuashin was stunned. I think I've heard of it before, but I'm not sure. Since you've heard of it, do whatever you like, lest you regret it in the future. Shuashin smiled embarrassedly. Actually, she didn't like painting. She just wanted to find an excuse to chat. She didn't expect to be comforted by Miss Tang. Although Miss Tang's voice was cold, she felt that she was a very gentle person. Anyway, this was the first time in her life that she had met someone who treated her so gently. Miss Tang, where are you going for the exhibition? Many places. Won't that take a long time? It'll take at least 3 to 4 months, or at most half a year. Shuashin was a little reluctant to leave after hearing that it would take so long. She was also a little anxious. She felt that once Miss Tang left, she would have no one to rely on. She wasn't afraid of Yan Wei, but she was afraid of vicious dogs lackeys in the manor. Each and every one of them was particularly good at bullying people. Before Miss Tang came back, she had been bullied badly. Now that Miss Tang was gone, she was afraid that she would not have a good life. But Shuashin didn't say this out loud. Instead, she smiled. Then I wish Miss Tang a successful exhibition. Let more and more people see your paintings, like your paintings, and recognize your talent. Tang Guo looked up. I just think that they should be taken out to dry. Bring them to see a different world. It doesn't matter if other people like them or not. Shuashin thought, can you do that? Chapter 26:19. Shuashin stood at the entrance of the manor with a pitiful look on her face. She watched as Tang Guo got into the car and left. Sure enough, a few days after Tang Guo left, other people in the manor saw that Yan Wei was either sarcastic or rude to Shuashin. They knew that Yan Wei didn't care about Shuashin at all. He brought her back to torture Shuashin. Shuashin's life got better after Tang Guo left for half a month. However, Shuashin was so busy that she couldn't stop at all. She had to do all the chores. She protested, but these people ganged up to bully her. Even though she told butler Wu Dong, he only asked her to work hard. If anyone else made a mistake, they would put the blame on her. Once Yan Wei knew about it, he would not listen to any explanation, nor would he ask anyone to investigate. He would directly convict her and think of all kinds of ways to torture her. Half a month later, Shuashin's chubby face had slimmed down to a sharp chin. No matter how effective the skincare products Tang Guo gave her were, they couldn't help her being tortured like this every day. Only then did Shuashin realize that Miss Tang's life in the manor was really too good. The people in the manor were all wolves. None of them were good. Miss Tang was such a kind person. Why didn't she become bad after living here? Shuashin even found Yi Yume, who talked to her arrogantly and pretentiously like a noble lady, quite cute. Other than rolling her eyes at her, she didn't bully her. After being tortured for a month, Shuashin's body became much weaker. She had to wash all kinds of things in the winter. Her hands were swollen. Her cheeks were thin and her skin was pale. Yan Wei saw all of this but didn't care at all. Torturing Shuashin was probably because he felt good in his heart. Sometimes, he couldn't bear to do it, but when he thought of how his parents were hurt by Shuashin's father, he could be ruthless. System, host, it's been 3 months. Shuashin has been tortured very badly. didn't you give her your phone number? She didn't ask you for help. As long as you go back, those people won't dare to bully her. Why didn't she call you? Have you heard of a person's last dignity? The system was shocked. Host, why did Sher Shuashin's last dignity run over to you? Perhaps I'm the most beautiful person in the manor. Tangua said with a smile as she dialed the number of the manor. As expected, at this time, the person who answered the phone was Sher Shuashin. Hello, Yen Manor. Sher Shuashin. Miss Tang Tang. It's me. Sher Shuashin's voice sounded a little hoarse. Tangua asked, what's wrong with your throat? It sounds like he's sick. No, it's nothing. Maybe it's just a cold wind. Take some medicine and I'll be fine in 2 days. Don't worry, Miss Tang. I'm not worried. I was just asking. Sher Shuashin, she's a patient after all. Miss Tang, what can I do for you? I'll be back in half a month. Tangua said, where's the butler? Tell the housekeeper to arrange for someone to help me tidy up my room. Okay. Sher Shuashin quickly agreed and hung up the phone. Chapter 26:20. Sher Shuashin was still a little happy that Tangguo was coming back. Her life would be better in the future. But why did Miss Tang call her directly? Wouldn't Yi Yame be the one to make arrangements for this kind of thing? Sher Shuashin didn't think too much about it. She was a little dizzy now. The weather was so cold. During the day, the people in the manor didn't want her to have a good life. At night, that vicious dog didn't want her to have a good life either. She sighed softly and looked at the manor's gate. For the first time, she had the urge to walk out of here. But when she thought of her mother who had been lying in the hospital for more than 10 years, the urge just now was washed away. She was the daughter of the Sher family in name, but she had nothing in her hands. What could she do if she walked out of here? That cheap father of hers would definitely pull out her mother's oxygen tube. Even if he didn't pull it out, would she be able to afford the expensive fees? Thinking about it, she was really a failure. Miss Tang was already a famous artist at such a young age. If she had any strong points, she wouldn't be in such a desperate situation. And she didn't have the chance to learn those things at all. That woman had already taken over her house. Today was Tanggua's last exhibition. After this exhibition, she would return to the manor. The venue of this exhibition was relatively big. At the same time, there were other paintings and some collections. In short, today's exhibition was considered an exhibition market. The venue was a museum in a city. There were some rare items on display, so it was quite popular. As a result, many people liked her paintings and bought a few of them. The style of the original owner was to sell it if she really liked it. Under normal circumstances, if people liked her style, it meant that they really liked her. She was young. Even if she had some fame in the circle, she was far from the fame of those masters. The customers she met all liked her style very much. Those rich people still liked those ancient paintings and famous paintings. They wouldn't appreciate the paintings of a young girl like her. However, her exhibition attracted a few people in the same industry. They even talked and exchanged contact details in the end. It was obvious that the people in the same industry recognized her standards. A few of the paintings were bought by these people in the same industry. The exhibition was almost over. Tangua stood aside and waited for the staff to help her pack up the paintings. At this moment, the sound of running footsteps suddenly came from afar. She felt that the other party was running towards her. Just as she was about to move her feet away, a person suddenly took her away from her original position and brushed past the person from before. So much so that she didn't even have a chance to do anything. Before she could say anything, the person who had helped her had already chased after her. System, Host, your phone and wallet were first touched by the person who almost bumped into you. Tang Guo looked at the figure running away quickly. That person is blocking me from catching the thief. Host, you don't look like you're here to catch a thief. The system sneered. If they didn't catch the thief on the spot, even if they called the police, they might not be able to catch the thief. Even if they did, the things might be lost. However, the system soon stopped worrying about this. The person who had chased after them had already returned. Miss, are these your wallet and phone? A young man with a somewhat ruffian smile walked in front of Tang Guo. Is this yours? It's mine. Thank you. Chapter 26-21. Tang Guo reached out to take it, but the man raised the wallet a little higher. With Tang Guo's situation, there was no way for her to reach it. Miss, tell me what's inside. You can't just say that it's yours. Also, I checked the phone. It should be unlocked with a fingerprint. You used your fingerprint to unlock it. My ID card is inside, Tang Guo said as she stretched out her index finger. Give me the phone. I'll unlock it. The phone was unlocked as soon as Tang Guo's finger touched the screen. The young man returned the phone to her and glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. I have to see the ID card inside. Suit yourself, Tang Guo replied coldly. She didn't mind at all. The young man opened the purse. There was a small amount of cash and change inside. After all, there were fewer and fewer places to use cash in this day and age. He went straight to the point and quickly found the ID card in the purse. She took out the ID card and compared it to Tang Guo. Finally, she smiled and said, "This is indeed Mrs. Wallet." He put the ID card back in its original position and returned the purse to Tang Guo. The person just now was a thief. He was discovered when he was committing the crime. He has now been subdued and sent to the police station by the exhibition hall security. Thank you for helping me find my purse. Tang Guo put the purse back into an open canvas bag. The young man couldn't help but remind her. Miss Tang, a canvas bag with a long strap and no zipper is not suitable for storing valuable items when you're outside. It's very easy to encounter situations like this. If you hadn't met me today, you might have encountered a lot of trouble. System, if you hadn't met the thief, he wouldn't have been able to touch the host's phone and wallet. He would have been kicked over by the host. Thank you for reminding me. Tang Guo's indifferent attitude didn't change the young man's expression at all. He didn't seem to mind such a cold attitude. For some reason, he didn't intend to leave immediately. Miss Tang, is this your family's latest canvas bag? Tang Guo's eyes flashed with surprise. How did this man recognize it at a glance? In the eyes of many men, bags could only be divided into women's bags, men's bags, children's bags, and hiking bags. It was impossible to tell which brand was which. Could it be that this person was in the luxury bag business? Yes, Tang Guo replied. Perhaps the man sensed the difference in Tang Guo's behavior, so he walked closer to her. Under Tang Guo's puzzled gaze, he skillfully took out his phone. I happen to have a few models that I just brought back. They're also my family's babies. We brought them back through human flesh. We also have records of our travels abroad and videos of our purchases. Some of them are not only fashionable, but also safer to use outside. As he spoke, the man placed his phone in front of Tang Guo and swiped his finger across the screen. If Miss Tang is interested, I can give you a discount as a new customer. The system was stunned. Was he trying to sell something right off the bat? It reminded him of that fellow who had once promoted insurance to the host. The system was suspicious. This guy couldn't be that person, right? He carefully observed Tang Guo's expression and felt the rapid increase in energy. He was secretly delighted. It really was him. Only he would dare to make such an elegant and refined entrance. Chapter 26-22. I arrange to go abroad several times a month. If Miss Tang likes it, you can add me as a friend. When those brands launch new products, just contact me and I'll be able to bring them back for you. This will also save you the time and journey to go abroad to buy them personally. A young artist like Miss Tang must be very busy. It's best to leave such small matters to a buyer like me. System. Pfft. She didn't expect him to be a buyer this time. Looking at his clothes, he must have made a lot of money in this line. I'm a buyer with integrity. Maybe the price is slightly higher than other buyers, but Miss Tang, you have to believe that if the price is low, it's easy to buy fake goods. I'm not a buyer here. After you get the goods, you can take them to check. Tang Guo glanced at the man's small shop. There was a dazzling lineup of goods inside. The big ones were some international brands, and the small ones were some word-of-mouth products. Miss Tang, do you need anything? Tang Guo pointed at a few bags that were newly listed overseas. Currently, there was no stock in the country. I want these. System, as expected, the host will give face. That's right. If she doesn't give face, how can we contact each other in the future? Naturally, they added each other as friends. Tang Guo paid the money and gave the other party an address to receive the goods. At the same time, Tang Guo found out the man's name, Bai Shuo. Bai Shuo glanced at the address and his eyes deepened. It was actually the address of the Yen Manor. He worked for big brands and many madams and young ladies in the circle were his friends. When he had nothing to do, he would scroll through his circle of friends and often see fights between rich families. It was especially exciting. Regarding this Yen Manor, he also knew a little about it. The owner of the Yen Manor was Yen Wei, but there was also a very special person living there. It was said that this woman was the flesh of Yen Wei's heart and also his only weakness. As long as she wanted it, Yen Wei would find it for her. Bai Shuo's heart was a little strange. So, she was the flesh of Yen Wei's heart. I'll ship it to you as soon as possible. On the other side, the staff was almost done with Tang Guo's paintings. Bai Shuo looked at the last painting that was about to be put away and suddenly asked, Miss Tang, are you selling your paintings? Is there anything you like? Bai Shuo pointed at the only painting hanging there and quickly walked over. I like this painting of the night sky very much. If you like it, I can sell it to you. When Bai Shuo heard this, he couldn't help but smile. This was the first time he had met someone who sold paintings like this. Did he sell it to him because he liked it? If he wanted to buy this painting but said that he didn't like it, he suspected that she might not sell it to him. In the end, Bai Shuo bought the painting. Chapter 26-23. Ignoring the disappointment in Bai Shuo's eyes, Tang Guo turned and left. Xiao Guo, who's that man looking at you? Your suitor. Yi Yame came out of the washroom and saw Bai Shuo staring at Tang Guo. There are so many toads out there. Tang Guo was speechless. Actually, Bai Shuo didn't look like a toad. He was already quite good-looking. Xiao Guo, you don't have to care about these toads. Yi Yame was afraid that Tang Guo would be fooled by these toads, so she nagged for a while. After getting into the car, Tang Guo said, he's a purchasing agent. He goes abroad 2 or 3 times a month and sells big brands. I think he's not bad. I even added him as a friend. Mom, don't you like these things and it's not easy to buy those new models in China? As long as Tang Guo asked for it, Yen Wei would definitely satisfy Yi Yame's needs. Yi Yame was greedy and vain. She also liked to reap without sowing, but she wasn't a fool. If he blindly let Tang Guo do it, then if he asks Yen Wei for help, his impression of Tang Guo will be very bad. She didn't want to lose too much just because of a few bags. Even though she was envious of those rich ladies who could get the new models as soon as they had the goods, she didn't say anything. Are the things he's buying for real or fake? Yi Yumei didn't believe it. I added a purchasing agent last time. Not only did he sell fake goods, but he also cheated me. I lost tens of thousands. You're just greedy. No matter how cheap those things are, they can't be that cheap. Yi Yumei smiled. Is this purchasing agent reliable? She swiped through Tangguo's phone, her eyes fixed on the goods on the screen. He seems to have a lot of things on his phone. There are even some shopping videos and flight records. It looks like he's very trustworthy. Tangguo's eyes widened. When Tangguo returned to the manor, Yi Yumei had already become friends with Bai Shuo. When she was in the car, she had already placed a few orders. In the end, she said painfully, I can't spend anymore. I can't spend anymore. Xiaoguo sold a lot of paintings this time. I was so happy that I spent too much. Half of the things she bought were hers and the other half belonged to Tangguo. Mom, if you want to buy it, then buy it. Anyway, I don't spend much money, and I have a lot of money in my hands. Buying a few bags shouldn't be a problem. I don't think so. No matter how much money I have, I won't complain about having too much. If I really spend everything I have, what if in the future? At this point, Yi Yumei changed the topic. We're home. Let's go. She opened the car door and got out happily. She muttered, this purchasing agent sounds very reliable. If the items are really good, I'll look for him in the future. It seems like I can save a lot of money. Tangguo, Butler Wu Dong knew that Tangguo was coming back today, so he had been waiting for her. After walking into the manor and resting for a while, Tangguo did not see Shi Shuoxin. Butler, where is Shi Shuoxin? I previously instructed her to take out my paintings to dry regularly. I don't know if she did as I said. I'll ask her when she comes back. Wu Dong thought about Shi Shuoxin's life in the past few months and felt a little sorry for her. Moreover, he inadvertently discovered a truth. His Mr. Yen seemed to be treating Shi Shuoxin differently. Where did she go? Tangguo frowned slightly. Wu Dong thought about Yen Wei. This Shi Shuoxin was the daughter of Mr. Yan's enemy. If Mr. Yen really felt compassion for Shi Shuoxin, then Mr. Yen would definitely be very upset. Chapter 26-24. Compared to Shi Shuoxin, Wu Dong was naturally more inclined towards Tangguo. Hence, he said, Shi Shuoxin went to deliver something to Sir. She just left. Is that so? Wu Dong saw Tangguo's expression change slightly. He thought that she would definitely go to see Yen Wei and heaved a sigh of relief. Miss Tang was so perfect. Sir wouldn't like Shi Shuoxin more, right? That was the daughter of Sir's enemy. If Sir was really moved, it wouldn't be good for him. It was better to let Miss Tang go. Perhaps when Miss Tang came back, Sir wouldn't have that kind of feelings for Shi Shuoxin. I haven't seen Mr. Yen in a long time. Butler, can you tell the kitchen to prepare something for Mr. Yen? It will be noon in an hour. Mr. Yen should be having lunch. Wu Dong was naturally happy and quickly went to arrange it. The kitchen was busy for more than 20 minutes. Finally, a lunch box was sent out. Wu Dong remembered that Tangguo probably hadn't eaten yet. He asked, Miss Tang, do you want to eat something before going over? Actually, he knew that Tangguo couldn't eat before going over. Sure enough, Tangguo refused. With Tangguo's face, she naturally went to the Yen Corporation without any obstructions. In the end, she was invited to Yen Wei's office. Just as the assistant was about to knock, the office door opened. The person who walked out wasn't Yen Wei, but Shi Xuexin. Shi Xuexin's face was pale and she couldn't walk steadily. Her face and eyes were quite tired. She didn't even seem to notice that Tang Guo was beside her. Shi Xuexin. Tang Guo called. Shi Xuexin thought that she was hallucinating and didn't pay attention at first. Later, she looked up blankly. The moment she saw Tang Guo, her gray eyes lit up. "Miss Tang, is that you? Miss Tang, are you back?" "Yes." Shi Xuexin didn't know if it was because she saw Tang Guo, but she was much more energetic. She should have fainted outside Yen Wei's office, but she didn't. She saw the lunchbox in Tang Guo's hand and pursed her lips. "Miss Tang, are you here to deliver food? Did that vicious dog need to eat? Coffee would be fine." "Yes." "Then, Miss Tang, I'll go back first. Wait for me downstairs. We'll go back together." Shi Shua thought that she came here by bus. According to the current situation, she didn't want to squeeze in the bus. She had a terrible headache and felt a little dizzy. Perhaps it was because of their previous interactions that she trusted Tang Guo very much. She quickly nodded. "I'll wait for you downstairs." Tang Guo pushed open the door of the office. Yen Wei was not surprised by Tang Guo's arrival. He enjoyed this lunch very much. "I saw that there was something wrong with Shi Xuexin's complexion. She looked like she was sick." Tang Guo mentioned it casually. As for why she mentioned it, of course, it was because she wanted Yen Wei to have compassion and feel sorry for Shi Xuexin. Wouldn't it be more interesting if Yen Wei was tempted and Shi Xuexin was not? She pursed her lips lightly, but she was trying to control the corners of her mouth from rising. Shi Xuexin hated Yen Wei to the core. "I see that she's very energetic. Why is Xiao Guo suddenly worried about her?" Yen Wei thought that Tang Guo was jealous and said this just to see his reaction. He still had to give her face. How could he care about the life and death of that woman outside? Chapter 26-25. She was the daughter of his enemy, and they would always be enemies. It's just that she doesn't look right. She kept falling down when she walked. Since Mr. Yen doesn't mind, I won't mention it anymore. She's an adult. If she's really sick, she should know to find a doctor or take medicine. The truth was that Shi Xuexin, who was deliberately targeted by Yen Wei, didn't even have the chance to buy medicine or see a doctor. She was extremely busy all day. If she wasn't serving Yen Wei, she was bullied by the other servants in the manor to do all kinds of chores. With Yen Wei's tacit approval, everyone in the manor didn't want her to have an easy time. After hearing Tang Guo's words, Yen Wei was indeed reminded of Shi Xuexin's pale little face. No matter how he tortured her, she didn't resist and obediently did as he said. But today, Shi Xuexin did look a little strange. Thinking of her increasingly thin body, Yen Wei couldn't help but frown. Especially when she was in front of him, no matter what kind of grievances she suffered, she would be so obedient and never beg for mercy. This made him feel like he had punched cotton and he was very unhappy. But very quickly, the pity he had for Shi Xuexin dissipated. This was the daughter of his enemy. How could he feel pity for her? He chuckled and looked at Tang Guo, who was sitting upright and always looking at him with such clean and serious eyes. Even if he didn't have much feelings for Tang Guo, Shi Xuexin couldn't compare to her. If this manor needed a mistress, it would definitely be Tang Guo and not the daughter of the Shi family. The Shi family would never be important in his heart. "Where else do you want to hold the exhibition? I'll ask Wu Dong to arrange it for you." As soon as he said this, he saw Tang Guo's eyes light up. Then, she maintained her indifferent look. "Thank you, Mr. Yen, but I don't need it for now." During this exhibition, I got to know many people in the same field and listened to many people's opinions. I want to spend some time painting something new. When the new painting is done, I'll do it. Alright, it's done. I'll get someone to arrange it for you. Let's try to make it big. At this time, Yan Wei had already forgotten about Shi Shuoxin. This well-behaved woman in front of him had always been so obedient. He did not mind giving her the best things. Shi Shuoxin had been waiting downstairs. Actually, she didn't like to stay in a place with Yan Wei's aura. Therefore, she did not choose to sit and wait on the first floor. Instead, she chose to walk out of the door and wait outside. Even though it wasn't winter, the weather in April was still a little cool, especially today's weather. There was no sun at all, and dark clouds covered the sky. Most importantly, she had a fever and was probably seriously ill. Her head was dizzy, and even though she tried her best to keep her eyelids open, she still couldn't hold on. Her whole body went limp on the ground, and she finally fainted. The moment she fainted, she vaguely saw a figure walking towards her. His slow steps became slightly more urgent. Seeing Tang Guo instructing the bodyguards to carry Shi Shuoxin into the car, the system complained, "Host, this time, the hero saving the damsel in distress is not Yan Wei, but you. I feel that the two of them won't be together. It'll be a miracle if they succeed." Tang Guo looked at Shi Shuoxin, whose face had turned red, and ordered, "Go to the hospital." Chapter 26-26. After suffering so much, if Shi Shuoxin could still be coaxed by Yan Wei in the future, she deserved it. Little system, help me check on the Shi family and see if Shi Shuoxin has the ability to make a comeback. The system quickly agreed. Was the host intending to train this bull to do things for it? The Shi family. The Shi family was quite big and was doing well. The prerequisite was that the old man and the other mother and daughter had to be removed from power. Could Shi Shuoxin do it? He was still doubtful, but it was possible that this woman had a lot of potential. For example, he loved the host. Who knew that the innocent and adorable person would become like this today? Stop thinking, stop thinking. Work hard. Don't think about the past. Work hard to help the host was the most important thing. When Shi Shuoxin woke up, the smell of disinfectant wafted to her nose. The white blanket on her made her realize where she was. She instinctively looked to the side and saw Tang Guo sitting on the chair, looking down at her phone. From the side of her face, she could tell that she was in a good mood. When she fainted, it wasn't a hallucination. Tang Guo was walking towards her. "Miss Tang, thank you." Tang Guo looked up. "Since you're sick, you should get treatment soon." Shi Shuoxin didn't refute and only felt warmth in her heart. Even if so many people treated her badly, bullied her, and humiliated her, there was still one person who cared about her. Even if that person looked cold, at least he was willing to send her to the hospital and not wait for her to die. This world didn't seem so bad. Not everyone was as bad as Yan Wei and the people in the manor. Look at Miss Tang, who grew up in the same environment. She was different. Anyway, thank you. If not for Miss Tang, no one would care if I died. No, if you died on the streets, someone would call the emergency services. If you died, they would take you away. If you stay where you are, you'll rot. Not only will you spread viruses and scare people, but you'll also affect the city's appearance. Miss Tang, I'm a patient now. Then you should rest well and recover quickly. Those people in the manor are rough. Come back and help me dry the paintings. Before Shi Shuoxin could say anything, Tang Guo had already walked out of the ward. I've hired a nurse for you. She'll do whatever you need. Shi Shuoxin watched as Tang Guo left. She wanted to stop her, but it seemed that she had no right to stop her and let her talk to her for a while. No matter what, Miss Tang was a good person. At night, Yen Wei came back. Suddenly, she realized that something was missing from the manor. She didn't even feel like eating. She suddenly remembered that Shi Xuexin seemed to be missing. He didn't care if Tang Guo was in front of him. He called Wu Dong over and asked directly, "Where's that woman?" Wu Dong hesitated for a moment before whispering, "Sir, Shi Shua has a heart attack. She's in the hospital now." He even went to the hospital. Yen Wei was a little unhappy. Clearly, he suspected that Shi Xuexin was pretending to be sick. Wu Dong hurriedly explained, "It was Miss Tang who told me about this." Yen Wei looked at Tang Guo. "What happened to Shi Xuexin?" "When I left the company in the afternoon, I found Shi Xuexin unconscious outside the company. She looked like she was dying, so I sent her to the hospital." Yen Wei frowned. "Is it that serious?" She had already fainted. He didn't suspect that Shi Xuexin was pretending. That woman had suffered so much before and didn't pretend. He didn't know why, but he actually felt a little anxious. Chapter 26-27. Yen Wei's face remained calm as he asked casually, "How is she doing?" Tang Guo's lips curled up slightly, but it disappeared in a flash. Her expression returned to normal as she stated calmly, "From the results of the doctor's examination, it's not good." Yen Wei's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. Not good. How was it not good? Could it be that it was already that serious? Is she seriously ill? No. Tang Guo shook her head and explained directly this time, "She hasn't had enough rest for a long time. She doesn't get enough sleep, doesn't eat on time, and doesn't have enough nutrition. Her body is gradually exhausted and her immune system is declining. It's easy for her to catch a cold. There's nothing wrong with her now, but the doctor said that if this continues, it's hard to guarantee that she won't get a terminal illness in the future. For example, stomach cancer. Or, it's possible that he died suddenly." While Tang Guo was talking, Yen Wei was imagining the serious consequences in his mind. One day, that annoying woman would disappear from this manor. She would die and disappear in this manner. He also recalled the previous few times when Shi Xuexin's pale cheeks had been enduring pain. Sometimes, he would inadvertently find that she was holding her stomach in pain. Just like today, when she appeared in his office, her steps were unsteady and she looked like she was in a trance. No matter what he did to her, she looked like she was at his mercy. The more he thought about it, the more his heart ached. Tang Guo noticed Yen Wei's expression and almost threw up the food she had just eaten. Why didn't he think of this when he was rubbing her? Disgusting. After that, Yen Wei hurried back to the study and pulled up all the surveillance cameras in the manor. For the first time, he was frantically looking for a woman in the surveillance cameras. When he finished watching the recent surveillance videos, which showed how the people in the manor bullied Shi Xuexin, he angrily punched the desk. "Dear host, that man was watching the surveillance cameras in the manor." Now that he saw Shi Xuexin being bullied, he was very angry and punched the table. Now, he had called Wu Dong into the study and ordered him to drive away all the people who bullied Shi Xuexin in the manor and let Wu Dong arrange for new people to come in. Is your heart aching now? What were you doing before? If it weren't for his connivance, who in this manner would dare to bully Shi Xuexin? This kind of scumbag really knew how to clear his name. He was clearly the one who connived and punished his subordinates. How could he erase the fact that he was the one who initiated the harm? Dear host, Yen Wei walked out of the study room and didn't return to his room. He even asked Wu Dong to prepare a car. He should be going to see Shi Xuexin. The system was a little worried. Dear host, would Shi Xuexin be coaxed by his actions? If we're coaxed by him this time, we won't care about her anymore. Seeing that Tang Gua didn't seem to care, the system naturally didn't care. He was on his great host's side. It was sure Shuoxin's fortune to not be coaxed by that scumbag. She had great host support. If she was really coaxed by a scumbag, that would be her fate. No matter what happened in the future, it would be her choice. There was nothing wrong with that. Yan Wei hurried to the hospital. When he arrived at the door of the ward, he secretly looked inside. Seeing that Shi Shuoxin was asleep, he walked in. Looking at Shi Shuoxin's thin cheeks, his heart ached even more. Wu Dong looked at the situation and sighed in his heart. Sir really cared about this woman. Chapter 26-28. Wu Dong didn't understand. How could Shi Shuoxin compare to Miss Tang? She was the daughter of Mr. Tang's enemy. They should be enemies. How could Shi Shuoxin enter Mr. Tang's heart? If she hadn't entered his heart, would Mr. Tang ask him to deal with the people in the manor and secretly visit Shi Shuoxin in the middle of the night? Miss Tang had been by Mr. Tang's side for so many years. If Mr. Tang really wanted to be with Shi Shuoxin in the future, Miss Tang would lose her status. Compared to the otherworldly Miss Tang of the past, he liked the current Miss Tang who was as smart as snow and knew when to advance and retreat. If no one else intervened, Miss Tang should be the mistress of the manor in the future. Now, it was probably impossible. Wu Dong couldn't change Yan Wei's mind. He just felt that it was a pity. At this time, Wu Dong's pitiful Tang Guo was chatting with her purchasing agent. By sure, Miss Tang, have you gone home? Tang Guo, I'll be back at noon. By sure, I've already shipped the things you bought. They should arrive tomorrow. Tang Guo, okay, I won't go anywhere tomorrow. Seeing this, Bai Shuo smiled. It's getting late. Miss Tang, you should go to bed early. Although he wanted to talk to her more, it didn't seem appropriate and there was no time. Bai Shuo stared at the phone screen in a daze. There was a hint of disappointment on his handsome face. It was strange. He had never been so interested in a girl since he was a child. And this girl was someone else's woman. He shook his head and put down the phone. Brother Bai, it's about to start. You're shaking your head and sighing. Did something happen? Are you okay today? I'm fine. Bai Shuo cheered up and let the makeup artist put on his makeup. He put the previous matter aside for the time being. He was indeed a purchasing agent. However, he had stopped doing this for a long time. Under him, there was a team that was responsible for purchasing goods on his behalf. He did start out as a purchasing agent. Later, he used the money he earned to start another career. However, he had never given up on being a purchasing agent. It was just that he let his team do most of the work. Now, his main job was to sell goods live. Tonight happened to be the day of his live broadcast. He had already gathered a large number of products, all of which were sent by the brand and carefully selected by his team to work with. The brands did this mainly for publicity and to open up channels. They would give a lot of discounts to the viewers of the live broadcast. Since he entered this industry, there was a rule. Oh. To put it simply, he was helping the brand sell things through the live stream. He collected service fees and commission, and the money he earned was many times more than buying things on a commission basis. As for the things he bought on behalf of others, they were either limited overseas brands or some niche products. Most of the people who joined his circle were also rich madams and daughters of wealthy families. Therefore, very few people in the outside world knew that he was also a purchasing agent. He recalled the information that he had investigated previously. Miss Tang seemed to like bags and perfume very much, and her mother liked them even more than her, when. The assistant knew about this matter. Originally, He didn't understand why Bai Shuo still wanted to be a purchasing agent when he was earning so much more than many big stars. Chapter 26-29. Later on, he accidentally discovered a secret. This was because Brother Bai's circle of friends were all rich ladies from the upper class. The things they bought were not only for themselves, but also for their husbands and boyfriends. Usually, when they needed something and did not want to go out themselves, they would make a list and ask Bai Shuo to do it. Then, Bai Shuo would hand this matter over to the person in charge of the team. Basically, they would go abroad 3 times a month. These 3 times, they might go to several countries at once. These rich ladies liked the limited edition products sold in certain countries, and they were very difficult to get. It was possible that the service fee was half of the product. At the same time, they would also bring some other products. Relatively speaking, it was indeed much cheaper than in China, and it was also very popular. Great host, great host. Tang Guo was playing with her phone when the system's voice suddenly sounded. The anxious tone made her very surprised. What's wrong? Did something happen with Shuoxin? Could it be that Shuoxin really did not change her personality and was moved by Yan Wei, and even fell in love with Yan Wei? Logically speaking, it should not be. Was her analysis wrong? Great host, I discovered a secret. It's about your cutie. Do you know what else he does besides being a purchasing agent? What? Hearing that it was Bai Shuo, Tang Guo was curious. She knew that he was definitely not a simple purchasing agent. Great host, go to a shopping live stream and take a look. He is now rich every minute. The system almost drooled in envy. It looked at those people as if they had gone crazy. The moment the product links appeared, they were all snatched up like bandits. Tang Guo followed the system's guidance and opened a live stream. Sure enough, she saw Bai Shuo's figure. He was not like before, dressed casually and had a bit of a ruffian's temperament. In this live stream, Bai Shuo was dressed properly and looked even more handsome. He was holding a watch in his hand and introducing it to the audience in the live stream. Unsurprisingly, this was a very big luxury watch. Today's live stream event was, of course, a lot less than usual. Moreover, it was a limited supply, and there were also free gifts. The gift of a luxury watch was naturally a diamond ring, a gold pendant, and the like. Tang Guo looked at the watch that Bai Shuo was exaggerating. There were already many people yelling at him to hurry up and upload the link. Is that watch really that good? Tang Guo asked. Even I want to buy it. Madam Host, I just checked. Although this watch is not very popular, it is indeed a good luxury item. Whether it was the workmanship or the details, they were all perfect. He was right. Actually, you see, a lot of people are here for the freebies. The freebies from the brand seem to be quite good. I checked just now, and this is a gift that Bai Shuo fought for the fans in the live broadcast room. This time, the main purpose of the brand was to promote these free gifts. This was because they had already entered the jewelry industry, and this was the product they were promoting. If he bought a watch, it would be a gift. When everyone received it, if they liked it, word of mouth would definitely spread. According to the original situation, the brand's plan was to directly advertise and sell it. Then, they would use this to find Bai Shuo to promote it. Bai Shuo gave them this idea. Moreover, there were really a lot of rich people in Bai Shuo's live streaming room. Chapter 26-30. He really knows how to make money. Tang Guo looked at the decreasing inventory. There were so many rich people in this world. She really didn't know that a group of rich people were waiting in Bai Shuo's circle of friends. What the rich people cared about was not whether the product was expensive or not, but whether it was rare, whether it was of high quality, and whether it would be embarrassing to wear it out. According to Bai Shua in the live broadcast, there were only 1,000 models of the free gift this time. In the future, no matter how much money you had, you wouldn't be able to buy the same model. Moreover, there were several models in this 1,000. Tangua saw that the link had been taken down. It should be all sold out. It was hard to imagine that a luxury watch, even if there were only 1,000 copies, would be sold out in a minute. She opened the other live broadcast rooms and glanced at them. She found that not all the fans were so rich. It seemed that Bai Shuo's fans were the richest. She narrowed her eyes. It seemed that this man was very capable. He even brought in his own customers. Later, Bai Shuo sold other products. They were all famous brands. It was nothing more than some cosmetics, bags, jewelry, and the like. At the same time, he also sold some things that men liked, electronic products. Sometimes, men were more generous than women. They were very willing to spend money to buy electronic products that they liked. Just like the camera he sold before. According to the system's data, most of the customers were men. System, host, don't worry. Your cutie not only has female fans, but also many male fans. Every day, there were male fans asking his studio about some strange electronic products. They also asked him to help them assemble computers. He was so busy. On the other hand, the female fans were most concerned about the discounts. They only wanted to save money. Your cutie only wanted to earn some money from them. Tangua. She wasn't jealous. The more the system thought about it, the more it thought. Tangua found that after 10 o'clock, Bai Shuo sold some high-tech electronic products. Most of the people in the live broadcast room were also men. System, those women said that they want to go back to sleep. They don't want to play with these stinky men. He knew what the host was thinking. Bai Shuo didn't go offline until 12 o'clock. Tangguo looked at his live broadcast time. He only broadcasted twice a week. It was reported that he and his team would choose products for the rest of the time, talk about cooperation with brands, and occasionally have other activities or rest time. In the morning, Tangguo went downstairs and saw Yan Wei coming back. She raised her eyebrows. Yan Wei stayed in the hospital for the whole night. She didn't ask, but Yi Yame was a little cautious. However, she didn't ask further and just kept her doubts to herself for the time being. Yan Wei ate his breakfast and left the manor. Yi Yame pulled Tangguo back to the room. She didn't want to go shopping today. Xiaogua, do you know why Mr. Yan went out last night? I don't know. Tangguo shook her head. Logically speaking, she really didn't know. Maybe something happened at the company and it needs to be dealt with urgently. Mom, you don't have to worry about this. Mr. Yan will take care of it. Didn't you go shopping with someone? 2. Yi Yame was comforted and quickly nodded. That's true. I'll go out then. Yi Yame was relieved to see Tangguo at ease in the manor. Chapter 26:31. Butler, there seems to be a lot of new faces in the manor. Tangguo asked even though she already knew the answer. Wu Dong explained with a smile, they were slacking off and were seen by Mr. Yan. Of course, we can't let them stay. Oh, I see. Tangguo looked at the thermal lunch box in Wu Dong's hand. Butler, who are you sending this to? Wu Dong knew that lying was useless when he saw Tangguo's bright eyes. Mr. Yan wasn't used to sending food to the company. It's Miss Shi. He changed the way he addressed her. Mr. Yan instructed you. Wu Dong nodded. Yes. Actually, those people in the manor were chased away because of Shi Shuoxin, right? She should understand now. It would be too fake to pretend to be ignorant. Wu Dong sighed. Miss Tang, this is Mr. Yan's idea. No one can stop Mr. Yan's idea. Don't be sad, Miss Tang. Maybe Mr. Yan is just curious. After this novelty, everything will be gone. Miss Tang, no matter what, you shouldn't make Mr. Yan angry. You should know his temper. This was half a warning and half a reminder. After all, he was leaning towards Miss Tang in terms of relationships. I'll go with you. I was the one who sent her to the hospital yesterday. Wu Dong couldn't stop her and agreed. In the afternoon, the two of them went to the hospital together. Shi Xuexin smiled when she saw Tang Guo. She was even more touched when she saw the thermal lunch box in Wu Dong's hand. She had already said that Miss Tang was beautiful and kind-hearted. She had even specially brought her food. Miss Tang was such a good person. That bastard took her and even wanted to fall in love with someone else. He was indeed a shameless bastard. That evil dog even pretended to sit by her bed last night and said that he would give her justice. He even said that he knew that the people in the manor had bullied her and that he had already sent people to deal with it. Such things wouldn't happen again. She had a feeling that the wolf was thinking about how to cook her and eat her up. The people in the manor weren't the only ones who had hurt her. Wasn't he the main culprit? Now that he punished the others, he was trying to clear his name. Seriously, how shameless. Disgusting. Scumbag. Pervert. He even pretended to be deep in thought, as if he was moved by her. How disgusting. Miss Tang, have you eaten? I've already eaten. Oh, then I won't be polite. Shi Xuexin ate her food quickly, not caring about her sorry state. Wu Dong saw that the two of them didn't quarrel and heaved a sigh of relief. He still had things to do, so he could only leave first. Taking advantage of this moment, Shi Xuexin looked at Tang Guo with eyes full of pity. Miss Tang, there are some things that I shouldn't say, but you're so good to me. If I don't say it, I'll feel bad. What is it? Shi Xuexin observed Tang Guo's expression. Seeing that there was no change, she became angry. He actually said that he would help me uphold justice. Shi Xuexin suddenly felt that it wasn't right to express herself like this. Miss Tang, please don't misunderstand. I'm not showing off to you. I'm really disgusted by his behavior. I don't like him at all. I hate him so much. I will never like such a person in my life. I'm just saying this to let Miss Tang see the true colors of this person. You're so infatuated that he's not worth it at all. Chapter 2632. Shi Xuexin's words did not receive any response from Tang Guo. Host, Yan Wei is here. Hearing the system's reminder, Tang Guo turned around and walked to the window. She looked into the distance, leaving Shi Xuexin with a lonely back view. Anyone who saw her would feel her sadness. In fact, only the system knew that the big smile on its host's face meant that she could not help but smile. She just wanted to change the direction of her smile. Judging from Shi Xuexin's behavior, Yan Wei was done for. Host, you have raised this bull very successfully. Host, Shi Xuexin has a maternal grandfather, but he is not in the country. Speaking of which, Shi Xuexin's mother was similar to Yan Wei's father. She also broke up with her family because of love. Is she also very powerful? That's right. It could not be helped. This was how it worked. The female lead's identity was not simple under normal circumstances. Moreover, even Shi Xuexin's father did not know the identity of Shi Xuexin's mother. Her maternal grandfather was not only powerful, but also very shady. However, her maternal grandfather was a very stubborn person. As long as his daughter did not admit her mistake, he would harden his heart and not ask about it. After what happened back then, he did not have the intention to move his power back. Therefore, he did not know what happened here at all. If his daughter did not take the initiative to contact him, he would think that his daughter had broken up with him and was unwilling to talk about it for the rest of her life. Great. Just as Tang Guo was muttering these words, the door was pushed open. Actually, Yan Wei had been standing at the door for about a minute. He had heard part of Shi Shuoxin's words. Compared to before, although he was a little angry this time, he did not blame Shi Shuoxin when he saw her sharp chin, pale face, and dark eyes. When he walked in, he did not ignore Tang Guo, who was standing by the window with her back to him. He came over because he asked Wu Dong if he had sent the food over. When he heard that Tang Guo was here, he instinctively came over. When he saw Tang Guo standing by the window and Shi Shuoxin eating happily, he realized that he had been thinking too much. Tang Guo would not do anything to Shi Shuoxin. She had always been so obedient. Even if she knew how he treated Shi Shuoxin, she didn't have any opinions about it. She was always so obedient and had never tried to change his mind or go against his wishes. Perhaps this was the reason why he was willing to keep this woman in the manor and give her a special status. Xiaoguo, why are you here? Tang Guo turned around and smiled faintly at Yan Wei. I found out that Mr. Yan instructed the butler to deliver food to Miss Shi, so I came over to take a look. Yan Wei had expected this answer. She didn't make any excuses at all. She didn't even use Shi Shuoxin's illness as an excuse. She just said that she wanted to come over and take a look. This was indeed in line with her character. She's sick. Naturally, the hospital will take care of her. You don't have to worry. Tang Guo slowly walked up to Yan Wei. Got it. I won't come here again. Mr. Yan, if there is nothing else, I will return to the manor first. Yan Wei seemed to understand her sadness, so he didn't stay. Although she didn't cry or make a fuss, he could feel that she was wronged. He suddenly felt a little upset. After Tang Guo left, his attention was diverted to Shi Shuoxin. She rolled her eyes at him and even glared at him. Surprisingly, he didn't get angry. Instead, he chose to sit at the side and watch her eat. Shi Shuoxin, damn it, being stared at by a vicious dog makes me want to throw up the food I ate. I have no appetite. I can't eat anymore. You're not eating anymore. Yan Wei looked at Shi Shuoxin's half-eaten food and remembered that the doctor had said that Shi Shuoxin's stomach was a little serious. Is your stomach uncomfortable? No. Not long after, Yan Wei called the doctor over and gave Shi Shuoxin a checkup. After confirming that there was no problem, he left and even reminded her to eat properly. Shi Shuoxin, only a ghost would believe that a vicious dog suddenly became kind. He even chased Miss Tang away. How annoying. Chapter 2633. In the following days, Tang Guo did not visit Shi Shuoxin in the hospital, just as she had told Yan Wei. Shi Shuoxin looked at her every day, but she could not ask Wu Dong why Tang Guo did not visit her. After all, she was just a handyman in the manor. Now that she was almost cured, Tang Guo still didn't come again. She remembered what happened before and thought that Yan Wei must have said not to let Tang Guo come, so the other party didn't come. His hatred for Yan Wei increased by a few notches. Yan Wei only thought that Shi Shuoxin had a little temper. While she was sick, he came to visit her almost every day. Looking at Shi Shuoxin baring her fangs and brandishing her claws while rolling her eyes with her back to him, he instead felt that it was very interesting, causing him to momentarily forget that this woman before him was the daughter of his enemy and that there was an irreconcilable relationship between them. Shi Shuoxin had been looking forward to being discharged from the hospital for a long time. If Yan Wei had not stopped her, she would have been discharged long ago and returned to the manor to help Miss Tang dry her paintings. Today was the day Shi Xuexin was discharged from the hospital. After she was sent back to the manor, she rushed to Tanggua's room. She knocked on the door gently and Wu Dong quickly reminded her, "Miss Tang is in the garden." "Oh." Shi Xuexin answered and quickly ran downstairs to find Tanggua in the garden. Sure enough, next to the garden, he saw Tanggua, who was painting. Shi Xuexin walked over gently and glanced at the painting. She was a little surprised and whispered, "Miss Tang's paintings are so cute." Tanggua looked back and saw that Shi Xuexin was still alive and kicking. It seemed that she had been living well for a while. "Are you better?" "Yes, I'm very well." "Didn't you say that you wanted to help Miss Tang dry her paintings?" Shi Xuexin even stretched out her hand. "I've been taking care of my hands recently. Look, the paintings won't be damaged when I hold them." "Miss Tang, the weather is good today. Do you want to dry your paintings?" "Yes." With Tanggua's permission, Shi Xuexin quickly went to move the paintings. When she ran upstairs, Wu Dong stopped her and said amiably, "Miss Shi, Sir has instructed that you don't have to do any chores for the time being since you've just recovered." Even if Wu Dong didn't like Shi Xuexin that much, he wouldn't go against Yan Wei's wishes. He had to do whatever Yan Wei told him to do. "I understand." Shi Xuexin agreed and went to move the painting. "I can order other people to do these things. Miss Shi, you should go and rest." Everyone in the manor saw Wu Dong's attitude. Those who hadn't bullied Shi Xuexin before or didn't have the chance to bully her felt extremely lucky. They knew that it was best not to offend a woman who had that kind of relationship with Sir. Who knew if this sparrow would one day fly to a branch and become a phoenix? Look, isn't this Shi Xuexin a phoenix now? Judging from the butler's attitude, it was definitely Sir's idea. There's no need. Miss Tang likes it when I help her dry her paintings. Other people are careless and will damage Miss Tang's paintings. Shi Xuexin looked at him as if he didn't know anything. This was her pleasure, which made Wu Dong feel helpless. Sir's attitude made him unable to force Shi Xuexin to do anything. He only found 2 people to help carry out the box full of paintings. The last one to dry her paintings was Shi Xuexin. "Host, did you see the way Shi Xuexin looked at you? Didn't she look like a baby who came to you to ask for credit after sweeping the floor for the first time?" "Host, you've led the female lead astray. She's your lackey." "No, she's your cowherd." Chapter 26:34. Let her live a good life for a few days first. Tanggua's voice was flat. Yan Wei's temper is strange and unpredictable. He treasures her now, but when he suddenly remembers her identity, it will be time for her to suffer again. Didn't Great Host say that she would help her turn things around? Why didn't she tell old Master Qin about Shi Xuexin and her mother's situation now? It's not enough. She hasn't been through enough hardships. Or should I say, her hatred for Yan Wei isn't enough. She's too pure and kind. She won't be able to harden her heart to deal with Yan Wei. Tanggua's eyes overflowed with a smile. Yan Wei is such a proud man. Do you think he will be very angry if he is defeated by Shi Xuexin one day? Not only would he be angry, but he would also be so angry that he would vomit blood. Then let's wait a little longer. I'm not in a hurry at all. There is a price to pay for growth. Shi Xuexin wants to stand up and protect herself and her mother. It's good to suffer more. Old Master Qin's family business is so big. Not everyone can take over it. Old Master Qin only has one daughter in such a big Qin family. His first wife passed away and he didn't seem to want to remarry. According to the information I found, old Master Qin's late wife and he relied on each other and went through thick and thin together. He probably can't hold another human in his heart. Miss Tang, there isn't a cat in the manor. Why did you think of drawing it? Shi Xuexin looked at the paper curiously. There was a cat in various forms. It was so vivid that it seemed to be Miss Tang's cat. System, isn't it his great host's cat? Back then, he didn't even come out. There was a big cutie living in the cat's body. I met an interesting cat by chance. I see. This cat is so well drawn. I can see that Miss Tang has put a lot of effort into it. Shi Xuexin held her face. No. Miss Tang has put a lot of effort into every drawing. But Miss Tang's style seems to have changed a lot. Tangua's eyes flashed with surprise. She didn't expect that the first person to notice the change in her style would be a layman like Shi Xuexin. In the past, Miss Tang's paintings tended to be cold. Even if she painted a noisy town, one could still feel a kind of loneliness, coldness, and monotony. Shi Xuexin shared her opinion. Recently, Miss Tang's use of color has become bolder. She even has a nonsensical and casual style. Even if it's just a tree and nothing else, I don't feel that kind of loneliness and coldness. Instead, I feel free and do whatever I want without fear. It's a feeling that represents the freedom of the heart. Dear host, is this the legendary female lead Halo? She can actually figure out your state of mind from the paintings. The system was astonished. Tangua, I think so. The female lead is more meticulous and has a better taste in these things than ordinary people. It's normal for her to be able to tell. The cat that Miss Tang drew today was actually just a piece of paper. There were only various forms of the cat, but I actually felt a very warm feeling, Shi Xuexin said a little embarrassed. Shi Xuexin said a little embarrassedly, I almost thought that Miss Tang was really close to this cat, or that you were the one who raised it. When Yan Wei came back, he saw Shi Xuexin talking to Tangua. He even asked Wu Dong in a low voice what was going on. The moment Miss Shi came back, she rushed over to help Miss Tang dry the paintings. Didn't you say that she doesn't have to do this? Subconsciously, Yan Wei's suspicious gaze fell on Tangua. Chapter 2635. I've told Miss Shi about it, but she insisted on helping Miss Tang dry her paintings. I saw that they had a good chat before. Wu Dong felt Yan Wei's displeasure, and his heart sank. He must have taken Shi Xuexin seriously and thought that Miss Tang bullied Shi Xuexin. Don't you know Miss Tang's character? Wu Dong shook his head secretly. Maybe he knew, but people were biased. Whoever was biased would naturally think that the others were not good. Yan Wei walked towards Tangua. Shi Xuexin's eyes were sharp. She noticed him immediately, and the smile on her face disappeared. Mr. Yan. Tangua put down her pen and greeted him. Yan Wei stared at Tangua for a while and then looked at Shi Xuexin. He knew that there was no conflict between the two. Yes. Come with me. Yan Wei looked at Shi Xuexin and said. He did not care that Tangua was next to him. Now, he was very interested in Shi Xuexin. Shi Xuexin could not refute. She looked at Tangua eagerly and then followed Yan Wei pitifully. You've recovered, but you still went out to dry your paintings. Yan Wei's criticism sounded more like concern. If it were another woman, her heart might have pounded, but Shi Xuexin did not. Through the comparison between Yan Wei and Miss Tang, she had already felt the best care, unlike Yan Wei, who hurt her one moment and treated her like a treasure the next. In fact, she was just a pet that he played with in his hands. If it wasn't good, the doctor wouldn't have let me leave the hospital. Yan Wei approached Shi Xuexin. Just when Shi Xuexin thought something was going to happen again, he actually stopped. He just pinched her face and whispered to her, "Be good in the manner in the future. You don't have to do those chores anymore. Be obedient." Shi Xuexin only nodded. She did not dare to speak. She was afraid that if she opened her mouth, she would spit feces on Yan Wei's face. During this period, Yan Wei was very good to Shi Xuexin. Many people in the manor saw this and felt that it was unfair for Tanguo. There were also people who became attentive to Shi Xuexin. Of course, there were also people who went to Tanguo to sow discord and talk bad about Shi Xuexin. But he was unlucky. Shi Xuexin would see him every time. "Miss Tang, I'm not interested in Yan Wei. Don't listen to those people's nonsense. They just can't stand me and want to use you to deal with me. When the time comes for me to be dealt with Yan Wei's current state, he will most likely blame you." Tanguo raised her eyebrows and glanced at her. There was no change in her tone. "I know. No one can stop me from dealing with you, Mr. Yan." Shi Xuexin's face fell. "That's right. It's just his own will. What can I do? You're not from this manor, and you don't like him. Why don't you leave?" Shi Xuexin pursed her lips. "If I leave, you can have him all to yourself, right?" "Yes." "Miss Tang, you're not cute at all. What's so good about Yan Wei? He's not even as good as me. Look, I can still help you dry your paintings, chat with you, and care about you. Where's Yan Wei? Other than being cold, you're still cold. Now, you've even fallen in love with me, your little follower." Tanguo pursed her lips and restrained herself from laughing out loud. She did not answer. "Sigh, Miss Tang, you're good at everything, but you're too stubborn. You just have to hang yourself on a tree. You won't turn back until you hit a wall. When you realize one day that that person can't tolerate you, you'll be hurt." Chapter 26-36. Let's talk about it when that day comes. Sigh, I shouldn't have told you this. Shi Xuexin sighed. It's not that I don't want to go out, but I have no choice. What do you mean? Shi Xuexin briefly told him about her experience. My mother is still in bed now. When I was very young, she fell into a coma after an accident. If I didn't agree to come, even if my father didn't hurt her, the hospital fees alone would be enough to make my head hurt. Compared to Miss Shi, I'm really a useless person. I know that I'll die if I do this. My fate is being manipulated by others, but I can't resist. I'm the only daughter of the Shi family who's in such a miserable state. How much do you need? I can lend you. Shi Xuexin widened her eyes. Miss Tang, it seems that you really want me to go. Do I make you dislike me that much? Anyway, you don't want to stay here, and I don't want anyone to distract Mr. Yan. Why not? Are you really willing to lend me the money? My mother's hospital costs a few 100,000 yuan a year. If you lend me the money, I'm afraid it'll be a long time before I can repay the debt. Shi Xuexin frowned. What she was most afraid of was not being able to escape. I have a feeling that if I run away, Yan Wei won't be satisfied and will get angry. When that happens, he'll put pressure on the Shi family and send people to look for me. I'm a weak and helpless girl. If I'm found by two powerful people, I'll be finished. If my mother was a healthy person, she would be able to take her abroad. Shi Xuexin was tempted at that moment. But she suddenly calmed down. If she ran like this, she would never succeed. Dear host, she's very clear-headed. The system hesitated. That's in the plot. She's also very clear-headed. She knows that she can't escape. Her father and other parents raised her to be useless since she was young. She has no family and her mother is in bed. What can she do as a little girl? She's only in her early 20s and can't resist. She can only follow the instructions and come to Yen Wei. Yen Wei is scarier than the Shi family. Most people who are targeted by him can't escape. Most importantly, in the plot, Yen Wei is the one who hurt her, but he's also the only one who cares about her. But things were different now. Her host was the one who cared about her the most. She didn't like Yen Wei either. Tang Guo was deep in thought. That thing is going to happen soon. The system knew that it was the first time Tang Guo and Shi Shuoxin were kidnapped. Shi Shuoxin had a good month. At first, Yen Yi thought that this was pretty good, but later on, other thoughts gradually appeared in her mind. Shi Shuoxin had been his woman for a long time. He was actually reminiscing about the things that had happened before. So one night, he took the initiative to go to Shi Shuoxin's room. For the next few days, he ran to Shi Shuoxin's room, causing the people in the manor to think that Shi Shuoxin was going to be promoted. Until one of Yen Wei's good friends came to visit. Who would have thought that this good friend of his was actually Shi Shuoxin's classmate and her former suitor? He seemed to know what had happened to Shi Shuoxin. He took the opportunity to communicate with Shi Shuoxin and told her that he could help her with whatever she needed. Tang Guo saw all of this with her own eyes. Until the two of them met and Yen Wei found out. Actually, Shi Shuoxin didn't have any feelings for this person, but she did want to ask this person to visit her mother. Chapter 2637. In the end, Shi Shuoxin regained her position as a servant in the manor, and Yen Wei began to torture her both physically and mentally. Look, that dog is biting again. Shi Shuoxin was not afraid that Tang Guo would be angry. She understood Miss Tang well. It seemed that no matter what others said, they could not destroy Yen Wei's image in her heart. It was strange that Yen Wei was not moved by such an otherworldly woman. I told you to run, but you didn't. Shi Shuoxin was so angry that she laughed. After I was bitten a few times by him, Miss Tang actually wanted me to run away. You won't have to suffer if you leave him. Shi Shuoxin's expression changed, and her voice became much lower. Miss Tang, I want to do that too. But I have no choice, and you can't help me. I can only bear all of this. Tang Guo did not say anything, and continued to wave the brush in her hand. How's your mother? Same old. This time, I've implicated that classmate of mine. I know he likes me. This time, he contacted me because I wanted him to help me see my mother. I didn't expect Yen Wei to be so sensitive and know about it so quickly. I'm really sorry. Let's not contact each other in the future. I'm just an unlucky person. Whoever meets me will be unlucky. Shi Shuoxin said dejectedly. Don't say that. Dawn will come one day. I'll take your blessings then. At night, Shi Shuoxin could not sleep. When she heard that Yen Wei was not coming back, she secretly knocked on Tang Guo's door. After getting permission, she realized that Tang Guo was not sleeping. Not only was she not sleeping, she was also watching the live broadcast. Wow, Miss Tang, I thought you were an otherworldly fairy. I didn't expect you to watch this kind of vulgar thing too. Shi Shuoxin took a look and realized that it was a shopping live broadcast. There was a handsome man in it, promoting a piece of jewelry that floated over. However, she saw that the moment the link was released, Miss Tang beside her quickly clicked on it and placed an order for 2 sets. She looked at the price and swallowed her saliva. This poem was not cheap. It cost tens of thousands. Did she place an order just like that? She did not even consider it. This was a luxury item. After a while, Shin realized a problem. No matter what the live broadcast was selling, Miss Tang would buy it. She seemed to have discovered an incredible secret. She also took out her phone and looked at it. As she looked at it, she also had the conflict of wanting to buy it. If it weren't for her dry wallet, she might have already taken action. She didn't know how much money Miss Tang had spent until the end. Anyway, she didn't treat money as money. System, that's right. In order to support her man, Madam Host even asked this little system to invest in stocks and earn money for her. Humph, using the money he earned to buy a man, the great host would really do it. However, it was fine as long as she was happy. Big Cutie was still very good. Tang Guo only put down her phone after the live broadcast ended. After the live broadcast ended, Bai Shuo subconsciously looked at the customers who had bought the items. Sure enough, she found Miss Tang who had bought every item. He looked at these orders and seemed to be happier than anything else. As he looked at them, he laughed. Brother Bai, what happened? Why are you smiling so happily? It's a good thing. The assistant hurriedly stretched her head over to take a look. Seeing that a certain customer had actually bought every item, she was also a little surprised. Brother Bai, is this your loyal fan? She buys whatever you sell. I don't know. Bai Shuo looked at his phone screen. He also didn't know why she would buy so many things that she had no use for. The day finally came. It was a party. Not only was Tang Guo invited, Shin was also the daughter of the Shi family, so she was also invited. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.